Introducing Shop, Click, and Pick, the simplest way to support those doing good. We understand that shopping is a necessity, and with a slight adjustment, you can make a huge difference for those in need. Here's how it works. Visit communitypayitforward.us and navigate to the Find Your Partners tab. Discover our verified giving partners, trusted allies ready to meet your needs. Shop with any partner that resonates with you. Click a picture of your receipt or invoice. Pick a mission partner you wish to support and use their QR code to send a receipt to us. Then all you have to do is sit back and enjoy your purchase, knowing you've made a meaningful change for someone in need. Community Pay It Forward amplifies your business's impact by sharing your story with those who require your services, rallying support for those who need us all. Because no one needs to go it alone when we all come together. Good Monday to you all, and welcome to Footprints Forward. My name is Zach Clayton. I am the president and founder of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. Footprints Forward is dedicated to trying to find a way and tell the stories, every story possible, that's going to help somebody through the battles that they go through when it comes to mental health, suicide ideation, just struggles when it comes to feeling alone or feeling distant from everyone. One of the biggest allies that we have in this battle are nonprofits. But putting together a nonprofit is very, very difficult. It's not easy. Today on this show, which is going to run a little bit longer than normal, we have two interviews with two lovely, lovely women. Deborah Laurel of Laurel and Associates is going to be the first one. Deborah's been part of the Community Pay It Forward family for quite a while. She has been in this field since 1973. She has been doing this for a long time. Does that mean perfection? Well, it means experience. And with that many years in the nonprofit world, you know she's seen quite a bit. So we are going to share this interview with you. And look, there's so much knowledge that you can get from this if you're wanting to build a nonprofit. I ask you to please watch this. If shopping with going to Deborah is something that you would like to do, you can visit her page on Community Pay It Forward by just putting in the search bar Deborah Laurel or Laurel and Associates. Her information will pop up and you can get a hold of her right away, and you can really help benefit your nonprofit. After we talk to Deborah Laurel, we're going to be revisiting the interview with Kimberly Sellars Bates, which is really important because she's another person who helps nonprofits obtain those elusive grants. Over $19 million in grants because she helps you go through the process. And the process is just absolutely draining and devastating, and it's hard. They help you go through this process and get it done right. So we'll be talking to Kimberly as soon as we're done talking to Deborah. So this is Deborah Laurel with Laurel and Associates. Again, she is a community pay it forward mission, or she is a community pay it forward giving partner. So every time that you hire her, you can support a nonprofit or a family that needs your help, or somebody in need, somebody who's asked us for help. So I'd like to introduce you to one of our wonderful partners, a longtime wonderful partner, Miss Deborah Laurel. Deb has been with us for a couple of years now, Deb, and her program is so important because her goal is to help you help others with Laurel and Associates. Sorry about that, but Deb, you started Laurel and Associates to really to try to help nonprofits be what they can be, right?
Right. I work with nonprofits as well as for profit, but the bulk of my clientele since 1973 has been nonprofits.
1973. So you're not new to this game. You've seen many changes, right?
Yes. Yes.
How difficult is it to keep up with all the changes? Because nonprofits change just about every day.
And every day I get different periodicals and emails that I have to keep up with. So yes, it's very hard to keep up with what's going on.
Is there anything from the past that you kind of miss, or is there anything in the past that you're glad that was changed specifically?
Specifically in relation to nonprofits or in general?
Yeah, let's just go with nonprofits for right now.
Well, there's so many more.
Yeah.
Proliferation of nonprofits every day. More nonprofits are being created, which on one hand is great. I'm glad that people are so driven and mission oriented. On the other hand, it's not so great in that very often those are started from the heart, and the person who's starting it doesn't really know how to run a business, and a nonprofit is a business.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that I like to say the most that people don't understand is nonprofit does not mean no money for the people who work there. And as a matter of fact, if you've got a nonprofit that nobody's taking a paycheck, you know, a lot of times it's ran like a hobby. It's not really ran like a business, and you can't, you need somebody to be there and love, live, and breathe that organization to make sure it keeps running. Um, how how difficult is that? Because people start nonprofits because they want to help others. How difficult is it sometimes to make sure that people understand? Look, you've got to have somebody to nurture this from the ground up.
I think very often it's hard because we're speaking a different language. The language of the heart versus the language of business doesn't mean they can't coexist, but to say to someone, you've started this because of some tragedy in your life and you are committed to this. Well, it takes more than being committed. You need funding. How are you going to get funding? How are you going to market this? How are you going to find staff? Are you going to do this all by yourself? To have those conversations can be certainly eye-opening for the person who is starting the nonprofit, and can be devastating if they don't pay attention to it. Because I read about nonprofits going under all the time.
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the reasons why I'm so glad to have you in particular with us and with this program, is because we can offer them a chance to, at least get a little bit rolling with the way that we work. We send people to you, we get a referral from you, and then 80% of that referral goes to a nonprofit that your new customer chooses. Um, I think having you and having that insight and having the experience working with nonprofits, I think that's a wonderful fit. What is one of the mistakes that people make the most when they come to you wanting to start up a nonprofit?
One of the mistakes is deciding that Aunt Sally and Uncle Tim ought to be on the board, rather than thinking about, all right, I need someone who understands HR, and I need someone who understands financials, and thinking strategically about who ought to be on the board, as opposed to who are your friends and who are your family, who are loving and caring and want to help, but really don't have the background or experience necessary to make that a functional board.
I have firsthand experience with that. When I had a nonprofit, I got together with people who I thought were of like mind, and I didn't really look into what their um I didn't really look into more of who they were. And I ended up having something happen when I tried to start a nonprofit that it it almost destroyed me, and it almost made me not want to not want to help people. Um, and it really was something that it took a long time to bounce back from that. And it's because I did exactly what you said. I hired really, really good friends, and not only did I lose a lot of friends in the whole ordeal, but I also, it almost caused me to give up. And I don't think people understand that, you can have a passion project that can really interfere with your own life, and it can be quite damaging to your life. So one of the other one of the other things that I know a lot of people like to do is, well, I'll just have my significant other be the treasurer, and that's not allowed, is it?
Not a wise thing at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it legal? Can you do that legally? I thought that was illegal to do.
I don't know the legality of that. I'd be uncomfortable saying.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, and I may be mistaken, but I was thinking that it wasn't allowed here in Colorado. And again, I could be wrong on that, but I know that you're right. That would be very wrong. It's just like having only one person who is allowed to, you know, having the dual people sign the check is so important, because that way, you can make sure that things are going a proper way. Um, and what are some of the other really important uh, uh, things that people should consider when putting together a board?
Well, you do want to think about your HR and your financials and things like that. If you have an attorney, someone who knows the law, could answer that question, would be nice to have them there too. Um, One of the other concerns is who's the chair of the board. And again, very often, the person who's made the chair is just a friend of the founder. And if we're really blessed and lucky, that person understands leadership and understands how to build a team and how to assign roles and knows not to start to try to micromanage what's going on in the nonprofit itself. But that's rare. So I help executive directors and I help chairs of the board learn those leadership skills and those team building skills so that they don't run into those difficulties.
Can you give us a little bit further exploration into Laurel and Associates, and let us know some of the wonderful programs that you guys offer and some of the lessons that you guys are willing to share?
Well, those are two or three questions. Let me take them in turn if I remember them all. The leadership training and coaching that I do is to help the chair define the role of the board, define their role, learn how to run a meeting. You know, so often meetings are held, they go for hours, there's no agenda. If a decision is made, no one remembers it. And it's a good way to burn out the chair and the board members. Very often board members are brought in without a clear understanding of what their role is. So I help define that. And we do some team building so that people know what are the strengths of the various people involved in the board. Who do you go to for certain answers when you have certain questions? So we do team building. For the executive director, it's really sitting down and looking at where are the likely problems going to occur. All right. If you rely on volunteers, how are you going to find them? How are you going to create an environment where they're going to feel valued, appreciated, want to stay and do their best? How do you create an environment that supports that? What do you do if a staff person, how do you find staff people? So helping that leader think through all the things that go into running the people side of a business and the organizational structure and culture of the business. So those are all areas that I get into, Laurel and Associates. Some stories. I worked with one nonprofit where there were two people who were running it, and they had a third person who was a staff person. And they kept assuming that staff person knew what was going on. Now, these two happened to be married. So they had all kinds of conversations that poor staff person wasn't privy to. And yet they were feeling that staff person wasn't carrying their weight and wasn't committed to the organization. The poor person had no chance. So, sometimes we'll come in and do an assessment. What's going on? What's causing that? What's the root cause of it? I mean, the obvious problem seemed to them, we've got a bad employee, we should fire him. Well, no. The organization was set up for that person to fail. So we have to open up communication and make people aware of that. I've come in when there have been staff mutiny against an executive director. and to come in and find out, all right, to survey both digitally as well as face to face with the different members of the staff. What's going on? Why did you come here? What do you like about it? What gets in the way of you being able to do your work? What are your concerns? And then to be able to hold a retreat with everyone so that there can be a talking session that's safe for everyone, psychologically safe for everyone. So those are some stories. And then we have others. I did a 6-month strategic planning for a large nonprofit, and we had 80 members of the community involved, and I was facilitating 6 different task forces, and then having to bring all of that together to the board and conduct a board retreat to present the report and have them make decisions based on the community input. That was exciting. Matter of fact, that strategic planning process won an award.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations on that. I know when you come to your website, the first thing that you see is the statement helping nonprofits relieve tension between their boards and their executive directors. Everything that you just said is all about that. I know a lot of times, as being like the president or the founder or whatever, your vision is so clear, and it's easy to forget, like you mentioned with the husband and wife thing. We talk to people all the time and we feel like we're saying everything that we need to say, and we probably are, but we're saying it to different people. So people are all the time getting just bits and pieces, enough to really confuse them. So they're like, they sit there and they get a piece of it and they're like going, well, that sounds wonderful, that's great, but what are you talking about? So um i I think one of the things that have always bugged me on boards at times is how, if a subject gets tabled, um meaning held over, for those of you who have never been in a board meeting, but if a subject gets tabled and it gets tabled over and over and over again, that's kind of a point when they ought to take that back to the drawing board, right? Is there a time when you ought to take something and you ought to take it off the table and say, look, you got to rework it because we're never going to come to a consensus with this? Is there, when should that happen?
Well, you're talking about it coming up again and again and again. I
Yeah,
mean, if it
yeah,
comes one time and it's tabled, that's a time for whoever's proposing it to go back to the drawing board and think about, well, first of all, to pull the board members aside to find out what their feelings are about it, if it hasn't already been discussed. And hopefully it's been discussed, so
yeah,
that the person who's proposing it knows what adjustments need to be made if they are open to making those adjustments. But to keep running your head against a brick wall, it just makes no sense.
yep, yep. Um, and yeah, I know that I was in a series of meetings where the same thing came on the floor for probably about 6 months. And I was just, I was just the adjutant at this time, so I didn't really have like a whole lot of say in it, but it was kind of, I finally went to the person who was talking about it saying, take it out and rework it. Look, you're listening to what people are saying, but if we're just, if we're tabling it, there's something missing that's not catching their attention. We need to make sure that we're plain and clear. And unfortunately, my accident happened, and I never found out what happened with the result of that. But I was no longer on the board anymore because I was out with a broken neck at the time. So um, when it comes to a director who walks in thinking that not I'm sorry, not a director, but someone who founded the organization, when they walk in and they think that, look, this is mine, that's not true. This belongs to everyone at that point in time. Isn't that correct?
That person had the vision.
Right.
That person may help create the organizational culture, what the values of the organization are to fulfill that mission. But that person can't do it alone. And
Right.
that's where it comes to sharing. I just wrote a blog about giving away your baby, that the founder or owner comes in holding close to this idea, and doesn't look around to see, well, who can help me? And I mean, that's a recipe for burnout and illness for that founder or owner if they don't start to delegate certain tasks, and they're going to lose good staff. Because if they don't delegate and they don't give them some decision-making authority, and in my blog, I talk about different degrees. You can tell somebody, handle it, I don't need to hear about it, or handle it, I need to hear about it, or tell me what you think should be done, run it by me, I'll tell you yes or no. I mean, there are different ways to delegate. So if that founder does not give up the reins to a certain extent, it's a recipe for failure for the entire organization.
And it is very, very, very difficult to do. It is very difficult to do that because you're right. You're going to be talking to someone who is looking at this organization like it's a child. It's one of their children, and they're going to protect it because, you know, this is what I want to see it. But they got to understand that, you're right. I heard a saying once that, a person with a business that has one employee is not a business that's worth that one employee. It's just, there's too much to be done. I know that there are business coaches all over the place that say, put a value on your time and tell me, you doing the social media for your company, does that match the value for your time? Sending out the emails, does that match the value for your time? It's really hard to get that across to somebody. What do you do to make them understand that?
I actually have them go through a kind of a grid. What are the key things that you're doing? What of these are high priority based on your goals? Okay, the ones that are low priority based on your goals, you ought to be delegating right away. Now, the high priority things, are there pieces of that you can delegate? So helping them see it in writing and work it through can be very useful for some people. The other thing is to I have cush balls. All right, how many cush balls can you keep in the air at the same time without them crashing down on your head? So if you're doing it all, what's being done poorly? What's not being done at all? And is that okay? What are the consequences?
Yeah.
But somebody has to be open to hearing it. And I think that's a key. When I was mentioning the mutinous staff and that executive director wanted to make things right. if he hadn't, if his head had not been in that place where he was willing to hear the criticism, take it constructively, do something about it, that would have been the end of that nonprofit.
One of the one of the ways to prevent that from happening is be a little open to other people's suggestions, right?
Absolutely. To realize that you don't have all the answers. You may have the vision, but other people may have a much better idea of how to get there. Or they may have certain skill sets that you don't have that you ought to take advantage of.
Yeah.
And that goes into deciding, all right, what kind of staff do we need? What are the skills and capabilities that we need them to have? And if we're going to have volunteers, ask the same question. You know, a lot of people think volunteers, all right, we're stuffing envelopes or we're doing some, I don't want to call it grunt work because it's all important work, but it's routine and it's not challenging. And yet we have people in the community who volunteer who have all this expertise, you know, to find out, to make sure you know what that is so you can use it. Because it doesn't matter how strongly you feel about the mission of the organization. If you feel unvalued, if you're not challenged in a positive way to use your skills and abilities, there are a lot of other nonprofit organizations that you could put your energy into.
There are a lot of volunteers that have been around the way once or twice as well. And so they can really help you find a path where you are being more productive if you will just listen to them. And, there's absolutely no, I don't think that there's much of a problem if you are, you want to hold fast to what your vision is, but you cannot make sure that you're closed off on that vision. You know, um, I know that I've been approached a couple times on the way that I have community pay it forward set up because I'm, letting go of too much of the money. And that's something that it took a long, long time for me to back down on that even just a little bit because I wanted to make this special. you know I wanted to make sure that a good chunk of that change was going back to people. It wasn't just, yeah, okay, you shop with my partners, we're going to give 32 cents to the mission of your choice. It's not That's not what this was about. This is to make businesses like Laurel and Associates special and stand out when it comes to supporting all these nonprofits that we work with, and to let them know, hey, look, there's organizations like yours out there that are really good and really, really can help a lot of people. So, um, you know, it's still the words 1973 are still strumming in my head. That's amazing that you've been able to keep this going that long. Um, what keeps you going?
As a trainer, as a consultant, when I see that light go on, when I see that somebody is able to take responsibility and feel confident in their own competence, that's what keeps me going on. And what also keeps me going on, and I say I'll stop training when this happens, when I stop learning from the people that I'm working with, because it's a partnership, it's a collaboration, whether it's in a classroom or in a boardroom, there's always things to learn from other people, and it makes life rich.
You know, it's that is so funny that you bring that up because now this is 2 weeks in a row when it comes to nonprofits. that learning part has been brought up. That is so important, because the day that you stop learning is the day that your life is over. I mean, if you approach things thinking that you know everything, the truth is you probably don't know a lot about it. So, you know, and I love that, because I am, as you are, I'm a fan of learning things. It's amazing what different generations do. It's amazing what different generations know and what they can bring to the table. And that's why when I hear people talk about, kids of today, well, they don't have no work ethic. They don't have, oh, wait, they also know a lot more about the technology and how to use that, so they don't have to have the go out and bloody your knuckles for, 60 hours a week. They know how to get it done without doing that. So maybe let's not discount them. Let's get them involved in this. And I
Well,
think when,
we have
yeah,
this vision, and it's a boomer vision, and it came from the silent generation and the great generation, that you got to work hard. You got to work hard, and working hard, and you got to be loyal, and you got to be there for hours, and you have to work over hours because you've got to deliver and you've got to be responsible. And younger generations have realized that they need a life balance, which a lot of boomers today, finally say yes, because we know a lot of friends who are pushing themselves so hard they retire and then they die. They don't have a chance to live a life, and younger generations have seen that and know better.
oh, how many times have we heard, look, I worked so hard that I forgot to live my life. And, you know, that's terrible, terrible to hear. And the regret is real. The regret that these individuals feel are real. Look, there's nothing wrong with working hard. You just, the KISS method is very, very important, because that also means that you're not dedicating everything to this, because if you don't dedicate something to the life around what you're building, then you're not really building anything that you can enjoy, right?
Right. We can work long and hard on things that we enjoy and that we get pleasure with from, and that build our confidence and fulfill our lives. But when we don't have other things, when we can't walk away, where we just got to always be working, it's families fall apart, relationships fall apart if they even get a chance to start.
Yeah.
And life is finite.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
you had asked me if there was something that I wanted to talk about,
yes.
and this is not apropos of anything we've been saying here, but I belong to a nonprofit consortium, and the whole purpose of the consortium is bringing together organizations who provide different services to nonprofits. So if somebody is looking for a certain service and they don't know where to find it, please have them contact me, because I have enormous resources at my fingertips now.
Yes, and I will be joining that consortium. I talked to the founder the other day, and we had a wonderful, wonderful conversation. It was one of those times when, you know what, we were both sitting there, we were both talking. We knew there was a reason why we were supposed to talk, and then Deborah, your name came up, and we were like, "That's why." Okay, we got it. We understand now. We know why we're talking. So, but it was a great conversation, and we turned a 30-minute meeting into one that lasted a little over an hour, because it was just, there was so much going on. And hearing what the vision of this consortium is, and what they're doing, what they're wanting to do, It's a beautiful thing because a nonprofit is definitely not one of the easier things to build. And it's definitely not one of the easier things to maintain. Reputations are under scrutiny at all time. And if you're not on top of things, and if you're not, if you're not really working at things, the funding dries up, or the donations drive out, and you're sitting there going, what's going on? And unfortunately, like you said earlier before we started recording, that's when some of these great organizations, they disappear. And so ask for directions, ask for help, before that happens. So, Deb, if somebody was going to come to you and say, I need help, but I don't know where I need to start, what would you say to them?
Well, we'd have to talk about, why do they feel that way? What's going on? What's not working? What is working? And based on that conversation, do some discovery. And sometimes just giving people a chance to bounce their ideas off of you is enough. They figure it out on their own. And you really have nothing to do other than sit there and listen. And then other times you can see where the gaps are, what needs to be plugged in. And then that's where we can discuss who could help and what would that help look like.
Debbie, I want to thank you very much for your time today, and I'm glad that we got to reconnect, and we reconnected a little over. I was one of those guys that 2023, I ended up, my health suffered tragic, terribly, because I was throwing everything I had at this program, and I wasn't trusting in myself. I wasn't trusting in people who were trying to help me, and I wasn't trusting even in the technology that was available. I was trying to do things uh, in a shut down manner, and the only thing that shut down was myself and my own body. So being able to hook up with you and reconnect with you and talk a little bit more about this, being able to add this video to your page and get this out for you to share and talk about all the good things that we're doing together. I thank you for your time today, and I do appreciate it. uh,
Well, I
d-
thank you.
yeah. Do you have anything else that you would like to tell some people out there? Is there any last words you would like to speak to them before we shut the interview down?
We've talked a lot about the negative aspects, the
Yeah.
things that go wrong. Let's just keep in mind that there are wonderful charitable organizations and nonprofits who are run smoothly. Their boards are functional. They're serving their target audience and clients, and donors are out there and watching and supporting them. So let's just end on a positive note.
I greatly appreciate that. I try not to use these videos as a downer thing, and you're right. And I think one of the most important things, and we mentioned it earlier, when it comes to nonprofits, is generally they didn't start from a good place. They started from a pain point. And the greatest thing about a nonprofit, when it's able to do what it does, is you're able to see somebody at the end who they didn't have to stub their toe on everything you did, because you were able to map out a path for them to follow to get around some of those things.
Exactly.
And if you continue to work, and if you continue to follow advice of great places like Laurel and Associates, you can do a lot of magic for a lot of people. So you're right. You're absolutely right. There are pitfalls, but the joys of everything really does outweigh. Look, the first time you have somebody cry, cry in front of you, me being a bigger guy, my first thought was, oh my God, did I step on her? And I seriously, that's what I was thinking. I was like, did I step on her toe? Oh God, did I hurt her? And come to find out, she was just extremely happy to find out what we did and how we could help. But that's an amazing feeling when you're able to help somebody. You can get a hold of Debbie by calling her at 608-219-3594. Once again, that's area code 608-219-3594. Or you can email her at dlaurel@laurelandassociates.com. That's dlaurel@laurelandassociates.com. Debbie, thank you
Thank you.
very much. You are so beautiful, and I love the fact that we got to reconnect.
Thank you, Zach.
All right, we will be back. I'm really, really glad that Deb brought that last part up. Here on Footprints, one of our goals from the beginning was to take and make sure that, yes, we need to talk about the struggle, because there's a struggle. If there wasn't a struggle, we wouldn't need the wonderful people like we're seeing here. So the struggle is important. But the solution is what we need to focus on the most. And I appreciate that Deb came out and she really made sure that we focused on that. I lost my way there. I forgot what our purpose was. Once again, you can get a hold of Deb at laurelandassociates.com, laurelandassociates.com, 608-219-3594, 608-219-3594, or D Laurel at laurelandassociates.com, laurelandassociates.com. The second interview I have for you, and again, we are running a little bit late, but this is such an important thing because we want to make sure that any nonprofit out there that is focused on mental health, every nonprofit out there, look, I mean, seriously, if you have a nonprofit that you love, that you support, that needs help, this is a great show to maybe take and send them to. Visit our YouTube channel, visit our Facebook channel. If you need a copy of it, please contact us at communitypayitforward.us, communitypayitforward.us. If you need a copy of this video, I would send it to you without any question. Just send us a message saying, hey, can we please share this with our nonprofit? And I will send it to your way. Our next guest is, her name is Kimberly Sellars Bates, and their focus is trying to make sure that they can get you the funding that you need with grants. Grants and fundraising is not the only thing that you need, okay? Please understand this. You have to have multiple streams in order to be a nonprofit. So, but Kimberly and her team have spent the last couple of years helping nonprofits obtain over $19 million in grants. So, without any further ado, the beautiful, the very energetic, and very enthusiastic Kimberly Sellars Bates. Every once in a while, and it happens with me quite often, you come across and you have a conversation with somebody that is just so light up the world. It's amazing. And I had that conversation a couple days ago and had to have her on. I said, I don't care if we do business or not together. I want to have you on because what you do is so amazing. And it huge focus on nonprofits. So any nonprofit out there, please, please, please take a little bit of time, sit down and check this out. Joining me right now is Dr. Kimberly Sellars Bates. Hello, how are you doing, Doc?
Hi, I'm great. How are you, Zach? It's a pleasure to see you again.
Yes, like I said, we had such an amazing conversation, and I just wanted to make sure that we got this word out to people because there are so many nonprofits out there who are frustrated, and we're going to be talking about it here in a little bit, but then they think that there's nothing out there for them because they're not taking the right steps to get these grants. So first off, I mentioned the title doctor. Can you tell us about your degree and the doctor?
Yes. Well, I have a bachelor's degree from the Alabama State University in Montgomery. I am completing a nonprofit certification class at Morris Brown College. And because of the grants that I've had funded nationwide, I was given an honorary doctorate by an organization that recognizes people in the community who have made substantial impacts. So I don't say doctor because it's honorary, but a lot of people do, and I embrace it and I accept it, and I want the people listening and watching to know that I will be working on my doctorate at the Clark Atlanta University in Atlanta, Georgia. So, but that's been my journey. I'm big on learning, lifelong learning. I'm big on finding out things that I may not be as knowledgeable about. I learned a long time ago that knowledge is power, but I embraced all learning. I really do. And I will continue to enroll in programs. I attend seminars, webinars, just so I can enhance my abilities to help the community at large.
You know, Doc, I think that that's something that you and I have in great common because I have a statement that I tell people all the time that the day I stop learning is the day that I leave this earth.
Oh,
I
yes.
feel that necessity to learn.
Yes.
I want to learn both sides of a subject. I want to learn everything I can.
Yes.
Why it happened, when it happened,
Right.
what would have, what was the result if it didn't happen, and what was the result because it happened,
Yes.
There's so much that you can learn about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it like you, I'm fascinated with it.
My husband says, how many more classes are you going to take?
Yeah, it's kind of funny that I'll sit there and my wife will come into our family room and I'll be watching something on Rome again. And or on the Mob or something like that. I'll be watching it and she'll go, how many times are you gonna watch the same stuff? And I'm like, until I stop learning something new.
We are kindred spirits. I knew that, Zach, when we met.
That is very true. So, and I would also like to say that, honorary or not, Doc fits you well. So we're going to continue to call you Doc.
Thank you very much. I'm honored. Thank you.
So do me a favor and give us a little bit of information about KSTB Enterprises.
Oh, I'm just excited to do so. I was working full-time at a college and way back when, And the vice president of development started seeing things in me. And she actually exposed me to prospect research, to grant writing, to annual fund. And as a result of that, I learned to do 501c3 applications. People started coming to me off site. They would call me and say, hey, can you help us get a 501c3? Can you help us get a grant? And I found out I was good at it. So I'm working this full-time job all during the day, and then at night working for myself, helping these people calling me. And my husband finally said, hey, look, you cannot continue to burn the candle at both ends. Make a decision. So I resigned from my position, my full-time position, started KSTB Enterprises in 2007, and the rest is history. I said to him, I will try this for 1 year, but that was in 2007. So I have been very fortunate to connect with institutions of higher learning, to connect with hospitals, to connect with community organizations who are in need of grant funding. And not only the funding, the research to find the funding. So I have grown the company. I started by myself in the dining room, as most people watching and listening probably have done as well when they're starting their business. But now I have grown and been able to employ full and part-time people. So I want to give a huge shout out to the team of KSTB Enterprises. I have 8 full-time employees and the rest are part-time or contractors, but I want you to know I couldn't do the things that I do without them. So shout out to my team.
That is so cool. One of the things I was just showing your website, and one of the things that's so very exciting on there, $19,378,053 in grant money awarded.
Yes, yes. We have been very successful. We have an 85% success rate in securing grant proposals and a 100% success rate in securing nonprofit status. So we work very hard for our clients. No matter how many clients we have, we treat everyone that they are the only one. They all get treated the same, whether their revenue is $100,000 or $1 million. We make sure that everyone knows that they are valued in the KSTB family.
I got a question for you, Doc, with that. We have ambition on turning Community Dare to Care into and that's our organization where we hand out free outreach to anybody. Yeah. We don't ask any questions. It's if they need clothing, come see us. That's if we've got it, it's yours to take.
Yes.
I am a little gun shy with putting together a board because I had a very, very difficult time with a board. I'll explain to you more offline, but what are some of the things that somebody is putting together a nonprofit? What are some of the things that where should they start? Where should they go first?
Absolutely. The first thing I need for them to do is determine what their mission is. You need to know what you're doing before you bring other people in. I will tell you that I have notebooks in my office that I started in 2007. So each year has a notebook. I write everything down, my goals, what worked, what didn't work. I had to have my infrastructure in place prior to starting A, my company, but B, I also have a foundation. So before I put anyone on the board, I decided this is what the foundation will do. These will be my priorities. This is how much I need in terms of funding. So after you figure all of that out, that's when you can open it up and say, hey, I'm looking for board members. Most grassroots nonprofits, start with family and friends. And they do that because they are trying to make sure, hey, these people are on my team. And you have to be very careful when you select board members. So I would get the infrastructure in place first, have a starting board. You don't want to have an initial board with 10 people, 20 people. Everyone has a difference of opinion. They might not always be on board with what you want to do. So get your infrastructure in place first. Know what you're doing, know what your focus is, because when they come in and start putting other ideas in your head, it becomes very difficult. So I was fortunate that when people, and they still be trying to whisper in my ear, you should be doing this. You know what would be a good idea? If you did a travel agency, blah, blah. You know what? Why would I do that? I'm an expert in my field. I'm not trying to do all these other things. So get your infrastructure together first.
I absolutely 1 million% agree with you. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm taking this so slowly, but so I'm trying to make sure that everything is to the T, to where it's not going to happen. Oh, look who popped up again. Look, not coming at me like it did before. You have let's go on ahead and let's get back to KSTB Enterprises. One of the problems that people have is they'll say, you know, I talked to a grant writer and they said that we're not ready, or the grant writer couldn't find anything. That's a problem with the owner, or with the board itself, right? They haven't done their homework.
That's a very interesting question, and I'm so glad that you posed it. I work with my clients to make sure that they are grant ready. When they come to me and they say, oh, well, I had a grant writer and he or she didn't do anything. Okay, well, let's talk about that. Let's see exactly what they did, what they weren't able to do, but more importantly, why. First of all, KSTB has a robust database of funding opportunities. We get a data dump every night at midnight telling us about the different private foundation, city, county, state, and federal grant opportunities. Now, with that, you have to be grant ready to submit a competing application. So in addition to some of the grant writers not having access to a database, they may not have a big pool of funders for you to look at. Now, the second thing is, are you grant ready? Do you have an audit, which some funders want that? If you're just starting out, you may not have an audit. But if that's a requirement, we stay away from those opportunities. But there are so many other thousands of opportunities. Do you have an active board? Is your board engaged in what you're doing? Are they committed to your organization? Do you have programs? Okay, are these programs relevant? Are they making an impact? How do you know? Where are your objectives? Where are your outcomes? Have you had everything analyzed, and so on and so forth? Those are things that you need to do to ensure that you're grant ready. Do you have financials in place? Basic things. Do you even have a bank account? Are you on GuideStar? If you are, do you have a seal of transparency? We can do all of those things for you, but before you come and say, my grant writer didn't do anything, have you looked at yourself? So one of the things we do when you first come on board, and we insist on this, is a fundraising plan. Where are you now? Where are you trying to go? But more importantly, our plan gives you how you're going to get there. You get a grant calendar. I said earlier, you need to apply for a minimum of 2 grant proposals per month. How active is your board in fundraising? Fundraising should be on the agenda for all board meetings. We come in, we do our report for you. We don't have to stay for the entire board meeting, but we do come in for the fundraising piece. Does the board receive the information that they need to make decisions, to make sure that the organization is propelling itself forward? Is it sustaining itself? Do you have a strategic plan? So when I say, are you grant ready? People contact us and they say, oh, we can't wait to work with you. And then we really start working with them. And the first thing they say is, wow, we didn't realize it was going to be all of that. But again, if you go to our website and you see the amount of dollars that we raise for our clients, you will understand how they were positioned to get there.
You would not have raised $19 million for organizations if organizations were leaving money on the table, would you?
Oh, goodness, no. We do not allow you to leave money on the table. We have weekly meetings with our clients, and in those meetings, we talk about, hey, let's pull out your grant calendar. These are the things that are available. Also, these things have popped up. Also, have we done our calendar in terms of annual fund? You see, we do more than grants at KSTB. It takes 4 funding streams to sustain an organization. That's annual fund, which is individual giving. That's the fastest way you can get dollars in the door. We have a text to give program where we position you to get donations directly to your bank account from text messages. So annual fund is the first funding stream. Of course, grants, signature fundraisers, and corporate sponsorships. The ideal dollars that you want are general operating. So when you do a signature fundraiser in your annual fund, all of those dollars go to general operating.
One of the misconceptions that people have when they start building their 501c3 is that, okay, we can fund ourselves with only fundraising. That's not true. You cannot, you're never going to get accepted if all your money is coming from fundraising, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. Listen, there are program fees. There are several things that you can do. Contact us and we will help you get everything in place. You know, our goal is to make the community where it is positioned to do greater things. So you come to us with an idea, and we have people on staff to walk you through to make sure that you are compliant with your state, with the IRS. And, you know, people know that when they work with us, these organizations that we represent are on the up and up. They do incredible things in the community. Listen, we have very small clients where all they do, and I don't mean all they do like, oh, it's nothing. No, all they do is they feed people once a week, compared to some of the larger organizations that do all these huge things. But we are working with them to build. You don't have to do everything right now. We build on your programs. So yes, when you talk about different areas to fund the nonprofit, there are so many different ways. And we work with you to identify those and implement them.
Yeah, and that's the reason why things like corporate sponsorships, like, that's one of the reasons why a lot of times you see like thrift stores tied to these organizations, because you have to have an income stream coming in. It doesn't depend on, hey, look, if the economy crashes, people aren't going to be donating as well. Can you survive this? So it's so vitally important that you think about things that way. I also love the fact that you brought up, there might be organizations out there that focus on feeding once a week. I think that we need to support those organizations so
Yes.
much. They
Yes.
realize, a lot of times they realize, we want to feed every day. We want to feed every meal. We want to feed every person. But we're going to focus on this right now.
Right, right. And you know what? And that has been our premise from the beginning. You know, we have people that say, I want to have a shelter where I help men with children, which is, you know, usually it's the women and the children. Okay, how can we take the steps to get there? So we start here, then we go here, and so on and so. And before you know it, they have apartments available for the men and their children. So, but they don't start out with the apartments. So you have to kind of take some baby steps, and we walk with you through that journey. We are very, very proud to say that we have clients who have been with us since 2007. And thankful that they still see the benefit in being with us. We are like a family. You know, we support our clients in what they're doing with their programs, with their outreach efforts, with their seminars. We are there because we are a team and we want to make sure that our clients succeed. And I do want to say this one thing that I think is so important. People, please listen to me when I tell you this. Stop fishing in the same pond. Everyone comes to me and says, oh, can you introduce me to this person? I want to go to this foundation. It's all the big ones. You know, there are thousands of foundations. So come to us. We have a database. We will help you stop fishing in this same pond that everyone else is going to.
You know, that just, first off, when it comes to the steps, that makes so much sense because you know, Usain Bolt didn't come out of the womb running, let's put it that way. So you know, and then when it comes to as fishing from the same pond, that's so important because you got to remember that, you know, yes, you may have heard of these people who like to donate, but here's the problem. So was other people. And so you're trying to throw your name in with some, you know, with hundreds of other people when you guys would have the resources to where they're able to take and say, we got somebody that we might be able to team you with a little bit better.
So that's important. And also one of the keys that works for us in terms of funding strategies is we don't go on blind dates. And what I mean by that is we don't let the first time that a potential funder hears from us is when we're asking for money. So we cultivate relationships with our potential funders so that when they do get a proposal, they're like, oh yeah, I know who this is. They're following us on social media. They've sent us their newsletters. They attend our events. They've contacted program managers. So we do have a strategy. And also when you talk about board members, and this goes to donors as well, we provide wealth analysis. So if you come to us and say, hey, you know, Zach is interested in donating to us, what can you tell us about Mr. Clayton? Well, we can do a wealth analysis and tell them, hey, this is how much he's worth. This is who he's given to in the past. This is a guesstimated amount that you should ask for. So it's a strategy to what we do. I have spent years perfecting this thing called fundraising. And so, yes, so that is what we provide to our clients. Listen, I'm just a girl from Adamsville in Atlanta. It's off Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. And I have one younger sister and me. I'm the oldest. My parents are deceased now, but the thing is, my dad was a serial entrepreneur. He always had a business doing this, doing this, doing this. And I guess I got that buzz. But the thing is, what I learned to do, I learned to perfect it. Like we were just saying, Zach, I continue to take classes. I continue to make sure that I have kept abreast of the things that's happening in the world that is key to funding opportunities for clients. So I am very, very proud to say that this company that I have built is making an impact, not just in Atlanta, but all over the world. We are so thrilled and thankful that you all trust us enough to get funding for you. And we are working diligently to keep our track record up.
I think just the statement on you need to be putting out 2 or 3 proposals a month. I
Yes.
think that right there is a reason to trust you, because that is somebody who is showing not only faith in your organization, but trying to take pride in helping your organization. They're
Yes.
not sitting there saying, you know what, we like your idea, but this is somebody who's actually putting love and into
Yes.
what you love. And we all know, look, you didn't start your nonprofit because, yeah, I woke up this Tuesday and I felt like helping people with cancer.
Uh-huh.
You generally started your organization because you had a loss to cancer. You
Yes.
have
Yes.
cancer, something like
Yes.
that. So
Yes.
this is showing how much you show your love, and they're going to help you out. Doc, I've got one more for you.
Okay.
People with business grants.
Yes.
Are people looking for business grants? First off, yes, there are business grants out there. Okay.
Yes. True.
But
and
how you don't help people obtain business grants, but
yes, we refer them to the SBA after we position them to get this funding from the Small Business Administration. Now, listen, let me say this. There are a couple of options for people looking for business opportunities. There are contracts, government contracts that we can position you to get. So call us and we will position you to be able to bid on these contracts and opportunities that the government has. And we all know that the Department of Defense is, that's the biggest one. Everyone must get in with them, but you have to be positioned to deal with them and to get these contracts. That's the first thing we can do. The second thing we can do is get you ready to go to the Small Business Administration. We don't write grants for businesses. Now, we do business plans, but then we turn it over to you to take to your funding institution or, your angel investor or whoever. So we do that. But we typically tell people, hey, go ahead to the SBA. We can help you fill out that paperwork. But in terms of going to a potential funder, that's not what we do. But again, we will do your business plan for you. So the SBA has a lot of funding areas, and I suggest people contact them for businesses. But if you want to do business with the government, call us.
Yeah. Well, that's just kind of, that's really telling people, hey, don't go to an interview wearing a hockey jersey. Okay. Make sure that you're ready for it. Make sure that you're ready.
Yeah. Be ready. Be grant ready.
Ready before you try to go and apply. If you're not ready, it's going to show. If you're not ready, it's going to hurt. So,
can I say one more?
Absolutely. You can say whatever you want to say.
In terms of going to funders, we provide prospect research profiles. That's actually how I got my start. So if your industry is feeding people and you need to know, okay, who should I be going to? Contact us. Whether you want us to write the grant or not, let us at least give you the prospects to know who you can go to. If you're meeting with an individual that you want to be a donor, don't go to him blindly. Come to us. Let us do the research and present it to you so that A, you'll know who you're talking to, B, you'll know their capacity to give, and C, you'll know whether or not they're even interested in an organization like yours. Listen, we can't waste time when it comes to doing things in this community, in your community, for the population that you're serving. Just because you heard that AT&T gives out grants doesn't mean that they give to your organization.
Yeah.
So contact us and we'll match you with potential funders.
There's money out there.
Yes.
For more things than you realize.
Yes.
There are a lot of them that get overly publicized. We know that there's a lot of things out there for people of color or
Yes.
but these are the ones that are always publicized.
Yeah.
You don't know about, you don't often hear about the ones that are for women business owners or left-handed business owners. I know for a fact there are grants for left-handed business owners.
There are. One of the things that when we were in the pandemic, it was surprising to me that more people didn't come to us for those relief funds. Mm-hmm. A lot of foundations changed their focus just to be able to work with organizations during the pandemic. So follow us on social media. Go to our website. I blog. I do interviews. I'm always saying, giving you fundraising tips and things that will help you. Corporate governance with me is huge. So I have a training module where I will come to you and train your board. I have a nonprofit coaching session where we will come to your office and train your staff. So we are running the full gamut here. And Zach, meeting you has been one of the biggest blessings of my life, because I met you last week, and now I can't even imagine not knowing you. You are a phenomenal man who has a huge heart and a passion for serving others. So we want to thank you from KSTV. Thank you so much for recognizing us, but we want to recognize you.
I thank you for that. We're still trying to find our stride, but when we build the kind of connections like we're building with you, like we built with other people, just to throw her name out there, because she is like you. Talking to her is like talking to sunshine. Marie Barney Boston Foundation, another wonderful person. These are just to be in the spotlight. These are the organizations that need to be known. And I'm going to tell you again, and I do say this often, okay, but this is so very important. Folks, we know that donations are so important for nonprofits, but going to the leader of nonprofits and say, hey, have you heard about KSTB?
Yeah.
Have you heard about them? Because you know what? We saw them on a podcast, and we know that you've been struggling to find grants.
Yeah.
That is so important to them. Yeah. I mean, it's more important than you'll ever know. Talk to them, talk about them. The more people know, the better the result. The better the result. So
much, Zach. Please contact us. We are here. We answer our phones. So, and we respond to email. So please contact us. We are excited to talk to you all. And Zach, please keep up the good work. And I will be wearing red next Friday.
Yeah, like I said, it comes across a lot of times like I'm just dressing down, but I'll always wear my red on Fridays. I'm always wearing a red shirt and a red hat on Fridays. Usually I wear the hat that my granddaughter bought me with it's black and white with the polar bear on it because that's all about me, but not on Fridays. So it's
well, I'm going to
I mean today I get my national champions and my devil's hat.
my
So
goodness.
okay, Doc, people can call you at 770-756-7565. Once again, that's 770-756-7565. Or they can email you at kstb@kstbenterprises.com. kstb@kstbenterprises.com. You can also please visit their website. It's a beautiful, beautiful website full of such inspiring numbers.
Thank you.
ktsbenterprises.com. Do you have any other words of wisdom you'd like to share before we end the show?
Yes, I want to thank everyone for planting seeds that grow trees whose shade you may never enjoy.
I think we couldn't end on a more perfect note.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Doc. We look forward to working with you and your team for a long time to come.
Same here. I'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Bye.
That is an interview that we did about a week and a half ago, and it brings me such joy every time I listen to it. Like I mentioned in that interview, she's like talking to sunshine, just wonderful, wonderful person, wonderful personality, and a lot of fun. So this has been a show about how to strengthen your nonprofit. Please, again, if you have any questions, reach out to me. CommunityPayItForward.us, CommunityPayItForward.us. Just go there. There's a contact form. Reach out, and we will do our very, very best to get right back to you. That's it for this week. Thank you for joining Footprints Forward. If you would like to be part of this show, part of creating a happy, healthy environment when it comes to mental difficulty and suicide ideation, please follow all the instructions on the QR code above. We want to have you on here to tell your story. We want to have you on here to promote your victory. We want to have you on here because there's someone who, like you, has suffered. And they need to know how you figured it all out. We invite you to join us at any point in time. Just follow the QR code above. Please love somebody out there because somebody out here loves you. My name is Zach Clayton. I am the founder and president of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. And I hope to soon be talking about lower numbers. Look, no one has to go it alone when we all come together. So let's get together and help each other. We're all we got.